Welcome to Heart Tales. Before we begin today's story, please take a moment to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much. Ever since we were kids, Victoria had bullied me, forcing kisses on me, cornering me into hugs, and shoving me down just to mess with me. She used every trick in the book to tease and torment me. Yet years later, when I stepped onto the university campus, she had transformed into the famous ice-cold goddess, the glowing moon in the hearts of 3,000 male students across the entire school. I thought she had truly changed, but when it was just the two of us, I realized she hadn't changed at all. No one knew how crazy her inner devil truly was, or how silky smooth her legs were beneath those black tights she always wore. And when she stepped on my face, it hurt like hell. The opening ceremony, hosted by the campus beauty of Kim University, was about to begin. The main star took the stage as a graceful figure stepped into view, wearing a pure white dress, sporting a sunlit smile, and exuding pure charm with every gesture. The entire auditorium erupted in cheers. "She's gorgeous." So this is the legendary campus beauty of Kim University. I scored so high on my entrance exams just to get a chance to see her. Like everyone else, I was completely dazed by her beauty. Yet, at the same time, she looked strangely familiar. A few ambitious freshmen even declared out loud, "I'm definitely going to woo the campus beauty and make that pure, innocent face blush with embarrassment. I'll make her kneel at my feet." The upperclassmen sneered in disdain. "Miss Victoria is the purest goddess in our hearts. Just having her stand there is more than enough for us. Anyone who dares harbor filthy thoughts about her will have to cross my dead body." Hello everyone, I am Victoria from the finance department. Today, on behalf of the entire university, I would like to welcome all the incoming freshmen. Hearing that name, I froze right in the middle of the crowd. I never expected that my upperclassman sister from middle school would end up here. As soon as the opening ceremony concluded, I rushed back to my dorm, terrified that she might spot me. Over the next few days, I constantly heard people gossiping about Victoria. They talked about how pure and flawless she was, like spotless jade, a distant, proud figure completely out of reach. In my heart, I could only sneer quietly. That person was definitely not as simple as her harmless exterior suggested. One day, a flyer for a campus part-time job caught my attention. My family was poor. My parents were divorced, and I was raised solely by my grandmother. To relieve her financial burden, I had to work part-time. After the interview, 3 people were hired, including me. My timid nature made me stutter through parts of it, but thankfully my technical skills met the requirements. The interviewer told me, "Wait a moment. The female owner will be here shortly to meet you." I nodded and sat waiting, my heart full of anticipation. And then, a girl walked through the door, wearing a soft, white fur coat, wearing a bright, radiant smile. It was Victoria. How could it be such a coincidence? I stood up abruptly, my face turning pale. The other male applicants who were interviewed with me cheered in excitement. Victoria smiled with captivating elegance, looking like a blossom in full bloom, making their hearts skip a beat. She appeared so refined, noble, and strikingly beautiful. I never expected that besides being the campus beauty, she was also a well-known young entrepreneur. The place I had applied to was actually one of her studios. Having not seen her for years, she had grown far more beautiful. Her shoulder-length hair, delicate facial features, and figure had developed much more fully than when we were kids. The large bow in her hair accentuated her pure, sweet charm. Facing her, my instincts made me tremble. When the chat concluded, she dismissed everyone else, but locked the door and kept me behind. Sensing trouble, I made a move to flee, only to be cut off by Victoria. The corner of her mouth curved upward before she suddenly wrapped her arms tightly around me. "Little brother, long time no see. It's been years. Did you miss me?" 2 soft pressures collided firmly against my chest, making my mind reel. "Trying to crush me with your weight? You think getting chubbier means I'll surrender to you? Who are you calling chubby? I'm in great shape. It's been a while, and you're still as disobedient as ever. I can't wait any longer." Victoria raised her claws, aiming to pinch my cheeks. I resisted, but her terrifying strength rendered me completely helpless. A devilish smirk spread across her lips. "Little brother, you're still no match for me." She was still the same little monster from back then. She grabbed my face and suddenly pressed her lips onto mine. This wasn't a kiss, it was a bite. Who called her pure? Who called her sacred and untouchable? Who called her gentle and obedient? She was completely insane. I tried to push her away, but she only bit down harder. She was a total mad tigress. Realizing that the more I fought back, the harder she bit, I could only slump onto the sofa and let her have her way. Compared to before, she had even less restraint now. When we were both breathless and gasping for air, Victoria finally satisfied herself, licking her lips as she stood up. Her cheeks were flushed red, yet her eyes still held an unsated hunger. In the end, I was forced to stay and work for her. The monthly salary was $1,000, but the condition was acting as her personal pet for an hour every day. I had absolutely no right to refuse. While kissing me, she had deliberately taken a misleading photo, threatening that I was now entirely in her grasp. The moment I dared to cross her, she would smear my reputation everywhere. Victoria was precisely this kind of domineering and insidious person. After she left the room, I ran into a few colleagues. They were excitedly bragging about their compensation, mentioning that working 5 hours a day yielded a monthly salary of only $400. I honestly didn't know what to say. Being Victoria's pet man, I got paid twice as much as them. At that moment, my colleagues suddenly looked at me with eyes full of envy, remarking on how lucky I was to have had a private chat with the campus beauty. However, they also asked curiously why my white shirt had a few bright red lipstick stains on it, not to mention the clear bite marks on my neck. Thinking back on it made me furious all over again. Who else could have bitten me if not that crazy woman in the room? The moment someone brought up Victoria, the guys immediately burst into laughter. You can fantasize all you want, but leave our goddess out of it. Daydreaming in broad daylight and taking it for reality? How dare you try to smear the campus beauty of Kim University? Honestly speechless. We thought we could actually talk to you, but turns out you're just a fabricator. I was completely unable to defend myself. Explaining the truth was a lost cause. In their eyes, Victoria was already a holy myth. Upon returning to the dorm, I received a text from her, telling me to arrive at the office on time tomorrow. I was about to be controlled and dominated by her once again, which brought back memories of those dark times from my past. Back in middle school, I was an utterly invisible student. Introverted, poor at academics, average-looking, and coming from a broken family. I had vague notions about love, yet constantly indulged in daydreams, imagining that I would meet a sexy upperclassman with long legs and black tights, or a mature, gentle female teacher who would serve as a guiding light for my life. At school, the person I admired most was a 9th grader named Victoria. She was 2 years older than me, drop-dead gorgeous, top of her grade, and knew how to dress impeccably, always appearing with a sweet, lovely image that made countless innocent boys swoon. On a rainy summer day, I saw Victoria sitting on a swing right out in the heavy downpour. Gathering up all my courage, I rehearsed what to say in my head and ran over to hold an umbrella over her. "Who are you?" Her eyes were like a pool of stagnant water, cold and dark. She was wearing a shirt and a long skirt, completely drenched from head to toe, with the sound of roaring rain filling our ears. Having never spoken to an upperclassman before, I could only stammer nervously. She looked like a precious, rain-soaked cat, while I felt like a rat crawling out of a gutter. "I'm a freshman." I shoved the umbrella into her hands, turned around, and bolted away. None of the lines I had rehearsed were used. I was too nervous, too ordinary, and too bad at studying. How could I ever be worthy of such a noble flower? Yet the very next day, Victoria came looking for me. Her very first words left me completely stunned. "Kid, be my boyfriend. You look pretty tasty, and I like well-behaved boys like you." My face flushed crimson, and I stood rooted to the spot, completely at a loss, only able to nod in agreement. The days that followed felt like a dream. After school, I would often meet her in secret. Being naturally shy, Victoria was always the one taking the initiative. Holding hands, exchanging hugs, pressing lips together, and even secretly pushing the boundaries. Just to be by her side, I was willing to come home very late. Even knowing I would be yelled at or beaten by my drunkard father, I feared nothing at all. Victoria usually acted mature around me, yet sometimes she would fall into a profound sadness. If I ever run into danger in the future, you have to come save me, okay? And if I ever do anything wrong to you, you must forgive me too. Confused, I asked her why she was saying such things. She merely smiled, pinched my cheek, and replied, "What girl doesn't want her hero to save the day at least once? Besides, I'm not perfect. Making mistakes is only natural. Hurry up and answer me. Do you promise?" I scratched my head and nodded, even though I didn't quite understand. She would also frequently say, "When you grow up, I'm going to marry you. We'll travel the world together, taking in the sights of foreign lands. Our future kids will definitely be brilliant." Having never heard such sweet, affectionate words from anyone before, I fell for them easily, taking them as a sacred vow between the two of us. From that day on, in order to keep up with Victoria and protect her when I grew up, I began studying relentlessly and living with purpose. Staying up late into the night, I transformed from an average student into one of the top performers in my class. Yet one day, I saw Victoria with my own eyes in the city center, walking alongside a wealthy, distinguished-looking guy. They walked hand in hand, chatting and laughing intimately, before stepping into a luxury car together. Inside the vehicle, they were locked in an affectionate embrace, a sight that instantly plunged me into an icy abyss. My heart shattered completely, my beautiful dream instantly blown to pieces. The thought of her flawless, fair hands being held by someone else brought an unbearable ache to my heart. The thought that her smooth, crimson lips might have been kissed by another man made me tremble with rage and humiliation. I was just an ordinary middle school student, while Victoria was a bold and reckless girl. The thought that she might have already slept with him felt entirely within the realm of possibility. From that day on, I was heartbroken. The next time I saw Victoria, the fury inside me couldn't be quelled. I began to hate her for her cold indifference. When she tried to hold my hand, I quietly pulled away. When she tried to kiss me, I turned my head aside. Seeing my cold stare and distant attitude, Victoria flew into a rage. She grabbed my face with her bare hands and bit down on my lips with sheer hostility. I clearly felt my lip get bitten through, the metallic taste of blood spreading in my mouth. Terrified by her sheer intensity, I froze completely. Victoria's lips were stained red with my blood as she spoke with dominant, unyielding aggression. "Why are you looking at me with those eyes? If you ever look at me like that again, I won't go easy on you." Even so, I fought back on the inside because the person she loved wasn't me at all. She just thought I was convenient, kissing me whenever she felt like it, beating me up whenever she wanted. Even when we happened to bump into each other on the street, Victoria would drag me into a deserted alley, messing around until both our clothes were completely disheveled. "Kid, let me tell you this. You're not allowed to like any other girl in the future. Your first kiss belongs to me, and you have to get into the same high school as me. Otherwise, I'll break your legs." Once, I became a bit closer with a pretty girl in my class. The moment Victoria found out, she went completely ballistic and slapped me straight across the face, warning me never to interact with another girl again. From then on, I didn't dare talk to any female classmates. It wasn't until she graduated from middle school that I finally escaped her clutches. As soon as I entered high school, I chose a school elsewhere, determined to sever all contact with Victoria. I didn't look for a girlfriend either, partly because I was still introverted and partly because I wanted to focus all my energy on studying hard to get into a good university. I never expected to meet her again at university. When military training began for our freshman year, I put on the issued uniform and lined up for drills with everyone else. A little time had passed since school started, and quite a few classmates already had girlfriends. During breaks, many girls came over to hand water to their boyfriends. Watching them, I couldn't help but feel envious. Love could be so simple and beautiful. My roommate, Kai, was still using the university's campus beauty as his benchmark for picking a girlfriend. With his handsome looks and wealthy background, getting a girlfriend was only a matter of time for him. After running 1,000 meters in formation, My throat felt like it was on fire. Suddenly, a commotion broke out among several rows. It's the campus beauty. Victoria, the top campus beauty from Kim University's finance department, is here. Is she here to watch the freshman military training? Could she be here for a guy? She's gorgeous. Last time at the square, I couldn't see clearly, but up close she's insanely beautiful. Hearing the name Victoria sent a cold shiver down my spine. Was she here to humiliate me in front of everyone? I watched as she walked straight up to our class formation, handing me a bottle of mineral water with a gentle, sweet smile. "Sean, you must be thirsty, right? Hurry and drink some water." The scene instantly silenced the entire crowd around us. I took the water bottle, hastily opened it, drank a few gulps, and out of habit handed it back to her. Beside me, Kai stared in utter disbelief. He was my roommate, and more than that, a genuine rich kid. Earlier, he had loudly declared that he would make Victoria his woman. I never expected that I would end up beating him to it. "Sean," he roared in anger, "why did my goddess hand you water? And how dare you casually accept it? It's driving me crazy just watching this. Look at yourself. Have you no shame? Don't you know your place? You don't deserve her." The guys around us were equally outraged. Making a gentle girl like the campus beauty look so solemn made a culprit like me an absolute sinner in their eyes. Flustered and not knowing what to do, I hastily grabbed the water bottle from Victoria's hand and gulped it down to relieve the pressure. Right then, I caught her looking at me with an amused glint in her eyes. "Sean, next time we meet, I'll bring you water again. Whenever you're thirsty, just call me." After she turned and walked away, my roommate Kai immediately grabbed me by the collar and dragged me over for interrogation. "What's your relationship with Victoria? Why does she treat you like that?" No matter how I explained, they still firmly believed that the relationship between Victoria and me was far from normal. "You're just a slave, and she's the queen. There is no way you two belong together. No money, no status, no looks. Sean, if you keep getting involved with the campus beauty, we're going to use special measures." I had accidentally provoked the entire group. That night, the university forum went wild. The story of the campus beauty delivering water to an utterly unremarkable, unknown freshman instantly soared to the top spot on the trending list. Scrolling through the comments, most of them were cursing me out, while not a single person dared to touch Victoria. I could only sigh. Truly, an innocent man gets targeted simply for holding a treasure. The next day, she came over as usual with light, graceful steps, carrying a bottle of water. During the break, she even shamelessly leaned against me, acting like a little bird nestling into her lover's chest. Meanwhile, I collected a whole haul of deadly glares from all directions. A few guys sneaked up close to me and whispered, "What does the campus beauty smell like?" I answered honestly, "Her feet aren't clean." The guys stared at me with wide eyes, completely unbelieving. "How dare you say those slender, long legs wrapped in white tights aren't clean? That's pure fragrance. You could literally brew tea with it." Little did they know, when Victoria forced me to smell her feet, how much I suffered. One day, after finishing my part-time shift, I decided to stay near the dorm area to secretly track Victoria's movements. As night fell, I saw with my own eyes a young man leading her toward a magnificent Ferrari. She slid into the passenger seat, and the two shared an intimate, flirtatious moment inside the car. I trembled with rage. So this was the pure goddess in everyone's eyes? She hadn't changed at all, still treating me like nothing more than a plaything. The next day, Victoria summoned me to the student union office. Pinning me against the wall, she stared at me with crystal-clear eyes, as if searching for something deep within my soul. All she met was my icy, unresponsive glare. "Little brother, can you stay by my side forever? Back when you held that umbrella over me, your eyes weren't this cold. I want you back the way you used to be. You were the one I liked and loved the most." She whispered, her voice filled with obsessive infatuation. I found it utterly laughable and absurd. So many years had passed. What kind of love was she talking about? Who knew how many other men were involved with her behind that charming facade? Was she really planning to toy with me to the bitter end? Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the door. Victoria moved swiftly, grabbing me and pulling me into a posture that made it look like I was pinning her against the wall. The door swung open, and the students who walked in froze in shock. Victoria turned her head, speaking with a gentle, vulnerable tone. "Sean, there are so many people here." Seeing her act so fake and helpless, the blood boiled in my veins instantly. "Victoria, how long are you going to keep up this act?" I yanked my hand back and slapped her hard across the face. Slap! The crisp sound echoed through the room, plunging the entire space into total silence. Victoria stood dazed. The students stared at me as if I were a criminal. "You dare hit the purest goddess of Kim University? Are you out of your mind?" Yet I caught the subtle curl at the corner of Victoria's lips, as though she was actually enjoying it. The other students rushed forward to restrain me, demanding an explanation. Thankfully, Victoria personally stepped in to mediate, allowing me to leave the student union office unscathed. Rumors even began circulating that I held some dark secret over Victoria, which was why she didn't dare fight back. In short, my reputation was completely ruined. I became the campus outcast that everyone wanted to trash. Even the supervising instructors caught wind of the gossip, looking at me with deep disapproval. They found every possible excuse to make me run several thousand meters during drills. One day, after military training ended, I was dragging my exhausted body back to the dorm. Several tall, muscular male students blocked my path like a solid wall. They told me to stay far away from Victoria. Otherwise, I would have to suffer the consequences. After saying that, they lunged forward and beat me up mercilessly. Their punches were heavy, knocking out one of my teeth. My leg was hit so hard that it suffered a minor hairline fracture. They were deliberate in their beating, avoiding vital spots, but the pain I endured was indescribable. That night, dazed and battered, I was taken to the medical clinic. Since there were no life-threatening injuries, the 3 senior students who beat me were reported and subjected to disciplinary action. According to the doctor's diagnosis, I needed 3 to 4 days of rest to recover. Early the next morning, Victoria came to visit me, bringing a huge bag of fruit. When she saw the state I was in, she stood motionless for a moment, her eyes filled with concern and an unusually serious edge. "No wonder you didn't come looking for me last night. Turns out you got beaten up." Furious rage flared inside me. I wanted to push myself up to confront her once again. "Why do you think that happened? It's all your fault. I bet you're the one who sent those guys to beat me. Just because I slapped you, you had to get revenge on me like this." My words seemed to make Victoria freeze. She stood rooted to the spot, falling silent for a long time, at a total loss for words. "Did you see something? But you have to understand, I only love you. You love me too, don't you? What kind of sick joke was this?" In my eyes, Victoria was nothing more than a hypocritical woman. With memories of her walking hand in hand with other men burned into my mind, she was a complete liar. Back then, she had deceived me when I was just a naive kid. But now, I would never fall for her sweet words ever again. "Victoria, stop pretending. Stay away from me from now on. Stop ruining my life." Victoria clenched her fists. Her eyes turned bloodshot, yet her gaze gradually grew cold. She sat down beside me, pulling a fresh apple and a sharp paring knife from the bag. The cold blade gleamed as she drew it out, flashing before my eyes and sending a cold sweat down my spine, knowing that if she wanted to, she could drive that knife right into me at any second. However, she simply sliced the apple and offered a piece to my mouth. I tightly clenched my jaw and refused to take it, wanting nothing to do with her fake kindness. We both stood our ground stubbornly, neither willing to yield, until Victoria finally snapped in frustration. "Eat it. Why won't you eat it?" Pursing her lips, she forced my mouth open. Although my nose was filled with the harsh smell of disinfectant, I could still catch the faint, delicate fragrance drifting off her body. In the end, I surrendered, opening my mouth to eat the slice of apple she fed me. Day after day, Victoria kept visiting me at the clinic, barely saying a single word. Her demeanor during this time was far gentler than before, a stark contrast to the days when we were together. She was no longer harsh or demanding, and the gaze she directed at me was filled with unsaid affection that needed no words. I truly couldn't fathom what she was after. Once I had partially recovered, I heard the news that the 3 male students who had beaten me up were disciplined and expelled. I had no idea why they were hit with such a severe punishment until later, when I discovered the truth. Victoria had quietly tracked down those assailants. Accompanied by several hired bodyguards, she cornered them without a shred of mercy, using her high heels to stomp on them as if crushing mere ants. "How dare you touch him like that? You deserve to die." Victoria's face twisted into something truly grotesque. Her eyes flashed with bloodshot fury as she grabbed a baseball bat and rained blows down upon them. "Only I am allowed to treat him like that. You worthless scum aren't fit." The 3 bullies were beaten to the point of severe physical and psychological trauma. The image of the pure, immaculate goddess they once held in their minds had shattered, replaced by a ruthless demon. Their future prospects were effectively ruined. After delivering the beating, Victoria took off her blood-stained high heels and tossed them aside in disgust. "Disgusting. Don't ever show your faces in front of me again." The next day, while the 3 were still recovering in the hospital, Victoria threatened them into signing voluntary withdrawal forms to drop out of school. When I was nearly fully healed, Victoria made a public announcement on the university forum declaring that I was her boyfriend. The moment the news broke, the remaining admirers across campus were devastated, breaking down in tears. I was kept completely in the dark until my roommate woke me up and delivered the news with bitter hostility, relentlessly mocking and belittling me. Soon after, my phone number and social media accounts were leaked. Every single day, I was bombarded with countless harassing messages, driving me completely insane. Whenever I appeared in public, people glared at me with scrutinizing, hostile eyes. One day, Victoria insisted on taking me shopping. As we walked out of the campus gate, a sleek Porsche slowly pulled up right in front of us. The window rolled down, and Kai stared at me with utter contempt. "Victoria, would you give me the honor of taking you out for dinner?" Victoria pursed her lips, her eyes remaining fixed solely on me. "Sorry, I already have plans with Sean. I can't break my promise." Kai glared at me in fury. "Then how about tomorrow, Miss Victoria?" "Tomorrow I'm going out with Sean as well." Kai's face twisted with rage as he barked at me. "Sean, you're just a dirt-poor loser. Mark my words. One of these days I'm going to make you pay dearly." "That's your business," I replied coldly. As he drove off, continuing to hurl curses at Victoria, I stood my ground, muttering a retort sharp enough to make 3 generations of his ancestors turn in their graves. Right at that moment, Victoria unexpectedly grabbed my hand and handed me a set of car keys, pointing toward a Bentley parked nearby. Clenching my teeth, I stepped into the car with Victoria, started the engine, and drove off under Kai's utterly incredulous gaze. Victoria's Bentley was one of the most expensive cars on campus, yet she had never driven it before. No one knew who the owner was, until today, when Victoria made her official appearance, and the person holding the keys was none other than me, Sean, the guy who had snatched away the title everyone coveted. The feeling of driving such a luxury car was undeniably exhilarating. Even the campus security guards actively helped me find a parking spot. Suddenly, I had become a successful man in everyone's eyes. "You don't need to work anymore," she said gently. "Just let me take care of you. I'll give you all the money you ever need." I scoffed coldly. "Talk is cheap. How about you transfer $1,000 to my account right now, and let's see if you can actually do it." Victoria looked at me with a soft, affectionate smile. Moments later, a notification popped up on my phone. $1,000 had indeed been deposited into my account. I knew her family was wealthy, but I still couldn't fathom what she actually wanted from me. We went to an outdoor boba shop together. Victoria ordered a single cup of bubble tea for the 2 of us. Having no choice, I sat down with her. Whenever we used the straw, our faces came so close that they almost touched, drawing curious stares from the surrounding customers. My face flushed crimson with intense embarrassment, making me wish I could dig a hole and crawl into it. Victoria, however, merely smiled, looking thoroughly amused. Afterward, she led me into a toy store. Standing frozen in place, I stared at the children's wiggle car outside the store, a growing sense of anxiety creeping over me. "You have to go ride that wiggle car. It's $10 return. My worst fears had come true. That toy car was meant purely for toddlers. Once I stepped onto it, there would be no turning back. She dragged me over and made me sit down. Fortunately, Victoria wasn't shy either. She sat down in the wiggle car right next to mine. As the upbeat children's music blared, the toy cars began swaying back and forth merrily. Passers-by stopped in their tracks to watch us, while the shop attendants couldn't help but light up cigarettes, staring blankly at the two of us. After a few minutes of swaying, the music died down. Looking at Victoria's hand, I saw she still had 8 coins left. My face winced uncontrollably. Without hesitation, I grabbed her hand and yanked her away from the store. For the rest of the day, we truly acted like a couple head over heels in love. After receiving the $1,000, I transferred half of it to the only person who genuinely cared for me. With the remaining amount, I began spending lavishly, buying a new watch, a new phone, and a new laptop, even heading out to get a fresh haircut and style. Once I was properly spruced up, Victoria held my face in her hands like a child playing with a shiny new toy, remarking that I looked far handsomer. The girls on campus began looking at me differently as well. No longer sneering whenever we crossed paths, but actually starting to root for my relationship with Victoria. One day, during a political science lecture, while I was attentively taking notes, a tall male student dressed in designer brands walked straight up to my desk. The moment I caught sight of his face, a wave of nausea washed over me. I remembered him all too clearly. He was a figure I could never forget. He was the very same guy who had embraced Victoria in the elevator years ago, and the one who had pulled her into that Ferrari. He sat down right beside me and turned to look at me. You and Victoria have been making quite a splash with all those rumors lately. Though I don't know what kind of relationship you share with her, I came to tell you one thing. She is my fiancée. He continued calmly. Even though it hasn't been officially announced yet, the moment she says the word, I will marry her immediately. Having delivered his message, he stood up and walked away. The female classmates in the room gasped in awe the moment they recognized him. It's young Master Julian. Wow, that's Julian, the heir of the Stone Corporation. He's a young master of the Stone family. Young Master Julian is so handsome and charismatic. You guys must have noticed that Ferrari parked near the lecture hall, right? That's his. Haha, he definitely came to put Sean in his place. Even if Sean stumbled into a bit of cash, he's totally ordinary compared to young Master Julian. As expected, those two are a match made in heaven. I sat there frozen, an overwhelming sense of inferiority consuming my mind. Before long, malicious posts openly slandering and humiliating me began circulating across the campus network. My name had become synonymous with pure evil. They painted me as a dissolute degenerate who dragged girls into hotels and forced them into abortions. There were even accusations claiming I had committed sexual assault. Every single word was a complete fabrication. Perhaps these rumors were spread by Julian, or maybe orchestrated by Victoria, or concocted by secret enemies hiding in the shadows. Ultimately, who was behind it didn't even matter anymore. There was no longer a place for me at this university. Many of my belongings in the dorm room went missing. When I demanded answers, my roommates met me with silent indifference. When I attended classes, no one dared to sit anywhere near me. I had become the primary target of public hostility across the entire school. The atmosphere everywhere was thick with animosity. Lately, Victoria had vanished without a trace as well. She neither understood the nightmare I was living through nor cared about my feelings or struggles. Maybe I should just drop out. This place was no longer fit for my survival. With that thought, I reached out to my academic advisor to request a withdrawal. Even so, the advisor merely responded with cold apathy. It wasn't until I visited her office in person that she reluctantly agreed to let me submit the withdrawal papers the following day. The next day, Victoria messaged me saying she wanted to meet, since it would be the very last time I'd ever see her, and I was leaving the university tomorrow. I agreed immediately, wanting to take one final look at her hypocritical facade. We went to see a late-night movie. By the time the film ended, it was already late into the night. Victoria led me back to her high-rise apartment. After showering, Victoria sat on the sofa wrapped in a bath towel, staring through the window at the bright city lights while holding a cigarette. It was already her 5th one, with ashes scattered across the floor. Her towel hung loosely, almost slipping off, yet she paid it no mind. When I reached out to grab a cigarette for myself, she violently whipped her hand out, swatting the pack away. "Sean, don't touch that. Stop bossing me around. You're smoking plenty yourself. I only need cigarettes when I'm unstable," Victoria replied with firm resolve. I snapped back in frustration. "You made me like this. My reputation is completely ruined everywhere. Do you honestly think I'm doing fine?" Victoria lowered her head in thought for a moment, then opened a cabinet and pulled out 2 bottles of expensive red wine. Pouring a glass, she handed it to me and told me to drink. I downed the entire glass in a single gulp. Before long, both of us were drunk, our minds hazy and spinning. "Victoria, you clearly don't love me. You love someone else. You love Julian." I let out a bitter sneer. "Ha, how laughable. You two have been together since middle school. As for me, I was nothing more than your plaything. Maybe all those rumors spread around campus were started by you two. You just wanted to destroy me." Victoria lay motionless on the sofa, offering no reply. She simply stared at me in complete silence. Consumed by rage, I lunged onto her and squeezed my hands tightly around her neck. "Speak. You've been ruining my life since middle school, and now you've destroyed my college years too. You turned me into the laughingstock of the entire school." Her throat was locked firmly in my grip, yet Victoria only stared up at me with an intensely passionate gaze, a subtle smile lingering on her lips while her trembling hand reached up to stroke my cheek. As her face flushed a dangerous crimson, I released my grip on her neck and collapsed back onto the sofa. Even if I killed her right now, I would still be the ultimate loser. I thought of my grandmother back home. If I ended up behind bars or gone forever, she would spend the rest of her days in lonely, heartbreaking solitude. I couldn't let go of her. Victoria began coughing violently. After catching her breath, she crawled over, pressed her weight onto me, and violently tore at my clothes. "Damn it. I guess I'm going to end up as part of her feast after all," I told myself with a bitter smile. Yet the wild, chaotic impulse within us could no longer be contained. By the time I woke up the next morning, it was already past noon. Victoria had gotten up early and thoughtfully brewed me a pot of hot tea. A wave of warmth filled my chest. Last night, Victoria and I had belonged to each other completely. After that wild night, she had acted like a kitten desperate for affection, nestling against my body, lightly pressing her lips to my skin, and incessantly whispering words of love. Seeing the vivid red stain and the faint trace of pain on her face, I had realized that it was her very first time. I picked up the teacup and took a sip, a soothing warmth flowing down into my stomach. Shortly after, an overwhelming wave of drowsiness washed over me, plunging me right back into deep sleep. Something was wrong with the tea. I was starving, freezing cold, and my head throbbed as if hit by a sledgehammer. The rush of negative sensations jolted me awake. Looking out the window, the sky had turned pitch black. When I tried to sit up, I discovered I was bound tightly to the bed. My arms and legs were completely locked down, leaving only my head able to move. A wave of icy horror flooded my heart. Victoria stepped in from the living room, completely bare just like the night before. Her eyes gazed at me with pure satisfaction. "Victoria," I yelled in a panic. "What do you want? Let me go." Ignoring my shouts entirely, she brought a bowl of rice over to my side. Trapped in this situation, I didn't have the slightest appetite to eat or drink anything. Her haunting, witch-like voice echoed softly, "Little brother, be good. Now we can be together forever. You should be happy about this. Who told you to keep trying to leave me? Why can't you understand my love? All I ever wanted was to be by your side. You knew I was planning to drop out." I felt a bitter pang of regret. I should have just left from the very beginning. If you hadn't tried to drop out, I wouldn't have had to do this. I had no choice but to tie you down next to me. Reasoning with Victoria was completely out of the question now. I thrashed wildly against my restraints, but the ropes only dug deeper into my skin, worsening the sharp pain. I had no idea how much time passed, but starvation and thirst eventually forced me to eat mechanically, swallowing every spoonful of rice Victoria fed me. Every single day, she used warm water to wipe down my body. When night fell, she fondled and toyed with me until she was fully satisfied, while meticulously taking care of all my personal needs. With day and night blurred together, my mind gradually shifted, sinking into a state of numb resignation. Until one day, Victoria stared at a positive pregnancy test and let out a satisfied laugh. "Ha ha, we finally have a baby. I'm going to destroy everything." Her laughter was utterly unhinged as she excitedly wrapped her arms around herself. My blurred vision slowly began to regain focus. Shortly after, I realized that she had loosened my bindings. Having been restrained for so long, my limbs couldn't move quickly. Everything finally clicked. Victoria was truly in love with me, and I loved her deeply too. Yet, Victoria was also forced to accept an arranged marriage orchestrated by her family, a union tied directly to the joint growth of their corporate empires. Now that Victoria was pregnant, her immaculate reputation would be shattered, effectively dissolving the arranged marriage. Consequently, her relatives and family businesses would face severe breach of contract liabilities and heavy financial penalties. Victoria laughed, just like a true supervillain. She loathed anyone who treated her like a mere pawn, including her own parents. Since childhood, she had been subjected to strict, oppressive control by her parents, deprived of any real freedom. She was always forced to behave with flawless propriety, from showing absolute respect and obedience toward elders to completing daily mandatory exercise, music, fine arts, noble etiquette, and foreign language courses. Whenever her grades fluctuated even slightly, Victoria would be severely punished, denied food, and locked in her room for an entire day of self-reflection. Back in middle school, despite how careful she had been, our love story was still exposed. Her punishment was being locked in her room for an entire month. A battery of psychiatrists was brought in to conduct mental re-education, after which she was sent abroad for high school. That suffocating pressure was precisely what twisted Victoria into an obsessively perfectionist and unhinged person. Only after entering university did she regain her long-lost freedom and begin plotting her revenge. When I thought about my own domestic abuser father and my mother who had poisoned me in an attempt to collect insurance money, I felt a strange sense of kinship. As it turned out, she and I had always been the same kind of people, forced to face a shattered, broken existence. I braced my hand against the wall. After struggling to search the apartment, I realized Victoria had already left. A few days later, I returned to my grandmother's house. Seeing how pitifully emaciated I was, she asked no questions and simply welcomed me home with a warm smile. Life was peaceful now, far removed from that twisted society. I adopted a stray dog that often lay quietly at my feet as we watched the boundless sky together. During that time, I caught wind of news about Victoria. Her family was searching high and low for her. Blessed with brilliant achievements and extraordinary capability, she had become a key figure in the Victoria family empire, and no one wanted anything bad to happen to her. I understood that Victoria had embarked on her personal journey of vengeance. Half a year later, the disappearance of the university beauty was still causing a stir online, with students guessing wildly. Some claimed she had been kidnapped by a repeater, while others said she had gone abroad to study. Countless rumors floated around, yet no definitive conclusion was ever reached. Then one day, internal documents belonging to the Victoria family conglomerate were leaked. A torrent of filthy scandals came to light, drawing unanimous condemnation from the business community and dealing a catastrophic financial blow to the family empire. Victoria's parents, who had not yet managed to climb into the upper ranks of the clan, completely collapsed under the added shame of their rebellious daughter. In the end, they chose to end their own lives by hanging themselves. Before dying, they cursed their traitorous daughter with their final breaths. Meanwhile, young Master Julian, who had been secretly engaged to Victoria, met with a bizarre accident while stepping out of his car to urinate on the roadside. At a bend in the road, his car signaled left but veered right, crashing head-on into a speeding truck. His entire body was crushed into a bloody heap less than 5 centimeters thick, and the 2 famous female models riding with him were similarly crushed to a pulp. The accident was shrouded in suspicion, leading many to believe it was a targeted assassination. On a crisp, early morning, I was walking my little dog near the village crossroad. Passing by the bus stop, I spotted a graceful figure stepping off, a striking woman wearing a long white dress and a traditional conical hat. I paused in my tracks, waiting for her to approach. "Little brother, long time no see." Looking at her round belly, I teased, "Long time no see. You've gotten chubbier again." She pursed her lips and gave my waist a sharp, fierce pinch. "Keep laughing. This time, it really is weight." Spotted by Victoria, the yellow dog behind me wagged its tail, only to receive a gentle kick from her. "Whose annoying hound is this?" Scram! The little dog let out a pitiful yelp and scampered off toward home with an aggrieved expression. "Victoria, you're still as mean as ever," I chuckled. I accompanied Victoria into a local diner. Throughout the meal, we spoke very little, yet the atmosphere was wonderfully harmonious. After we finished eating, Victoria's expression suddenly darkened, as if she had something heavy on her mind. I looked at her and asked, "Is there something you want to say?" Victoria lowered her head, her body trembling slightly. "Sean, do you know? I'm a cruel, wicked woman. I indirectly killed my own parents and ruined so many people. Now I have nothing left. Can you save me?" Seeing her so vulnerable for the very first time, I was momentarily at a loss for words. After thinking it over for a moment, I draped my coat over her shoulders. "All right, say no more. You and the baby are coming home with me." Under the dazzling summer sunlight, my lover and I walked side by side through the fields. A gentle breeze swept through, causing the golden ears of rice to ripple like a vast sea of gold. Victoria squinted her eyes, holding onto her conical hat with one hand to keep it from blowing away. Looking up at the sky, I noticed it was already late afternoon. We've been out for a while. The baby is probably hungry and crying for milk right now. Victoria shot me a playful, annoyed glare. Raising a kid is such a hassle, but with you by my side, I'll try to be a bit more patient. I took Victoria's hand, and together we walked home into the setting sun.